What if I told you a band got named the worst band in the world by Rolling Stone while their album was going double platinum? They accidentally shut down an airport with a sex doll, got famous for a song that was basically a middle finger to MTV, and then got completely erased from history because they smiled too much. Here's how the last party of the 80s crashed and burned on the shores of 90s grunge.
Like, subscribe. Thank you.
So there's these two guys, Whitfield Crane and Klaus Eichstadt, and their kids, childhood friends from Palo Alto, California, and they find themselves in Isla Vista in 1989. Isla Vista is a party town, a college town right next to Santa Barbara, and it's pure chaos. And these guys want to start a band. They get a gig, what they thought might be a pretty big one, at least locally, opening for some now forgotten 80s glam band. Crane and Eichstadt think that the band's name is hilarious, so as a joke and play on words, they call themselves Ugly Kid Joe. So the night of the show comes, and the whole thing gets canceled. The forgotten glam band apparently never shows up. But the name, Ugly Kid Joe, is just too good. It sticks. They even get a logo to match the attitude. This little cartoon kid with a backward baseball cap, giving the whole world the finger. It was perfect. Totally obnoxious and funny, but it was totally them. So they started playing shows around Santa Barbara, and the people are loving it. They weren't pretending to be tortured artists or rock gods. They were just some dudes having a good time, playing loud, funky hard rock. And the crowds got bigger and bigger. Soon they're pulling in like 800 people a night. The record labels start sniffing around, and in 1991, Mercury Records signs them. The joke was suddenly very real. So they inked the deal and put out some music. Klaus, the guitarist, had this song he'd been kicking around since 1986. He wrote it because he was so sick of what he saw on MTV. Every video was the same. Some dude with feathered hair singing this sappy love ballad to some supermodel in a wind machine. He saw it as all so slick and fake. And Klaus had this friend growing up who was just a black hole of negativity. A guy who hated everything and everyone. So he writes this song from that guy's perspective. A song about hating your girlfriend, your dog, your car, the sky, the ground, just everything. The song is called Everything About You. And it was pure, unadulterated cynicism set to a killer riff. Turned out to be a protest song against the very scene that they were about to enter. So the band puts this song on the very first EP, and just like their name, they give the EP a joke title. The rap group Two Live Crew had this album out called As Nasty As They Wanna Be. So Ugly Kid Joe called their EP As Ugly As They Wanna Be. And it explodes. It sells 1 million copies. Becomes the first EP in history to ever go platinum, and a huge reason for that was MTV. And the channel that Klaus was protesting ended up making him a star. The music video for Everything About You was everything the band was about. They didn't hire models. They went down to a beach in Isla Vista and just goofed off while the camera was rolling. But for the quote-unquote hot chicks you're supposed to have in a rock video, they used helium-filled sex dolls. Just these inflatable women bouncing around on the sand while the band played. And during the shoot, one of these dolls ends up getting loose. The wind catches it and it just flies away. It floats up higher and higher, a silent plastic woman ascending into the heavens, and it floats right into the flight path of the Santa Barbara airport. Somebody sees this weird object in the sky and reports it. Nobody knows what it is. An experimental drone? A weather balloon? A UFO? The airport has no choice. They shut down the entire airspace. They ground planes, all because of Ugly Kid Joe's sex doll going rogue. And that's the story of the band in a nutshell. Funny, chaotic, accidentally causing a major incident. The song was everywhere. It hit number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the US and number 3 in the UK. Made it into the movie Wayne's World. And now Ugly Kid Joe were officially rock stars. So now there's the EP being a massive hit. And so what does the label do? Well, they want the full-length album. So they get to work and put out America's Least Wanted in 1992. The album goes double platinum. And on it they have another hit, a weird one. They decide to cover Cats in the Cradle, super sad folk song by Harry Chapin about a dad who never has time for his kid. It's the least Ugly Kid Joe sounding thing you could imagine, but people ended up loving it. It becomes their second top 10 hit. So now there's this bizarre band that has one song about hating everybody, another one about fatherly neglect. But while they're selling millions of records and packing arenas, the critical establishment absolutely could not stand them. Rolling Stone held its annual critics poll and officially named Ugly Kid Joe the worst band in the world. The LA Times called them generic MTV rad party dudes. Critics said their music was a mess of funk, rap, lame choruses, and old jokes. They saw the humor, the cartoon logo, the fun, but ended up dismissing it as a novelty act. a joke band that wasn't to be taken seriously. And the pressure started getting to them, especially Whitfield Crane, the singer. One minute he's a kid in a party town, next he's a famous rock star. He said life just got too fast. The business side was uncomfortable, totally dangerous. He was getting sick of the joke. He wanted to be a real rock singer, a heavy, badass rock and roll singer. But every night he had to get on stage and sing this goofy, cynical song that he didn't even write. And so what's he do? But he starts to rebel. Sometimes he just refused to play Everything About You live. And the party was starting to feel like a prison. And the cracks really began to show in '93. They're opening for Def Leppard, a massive tour, and this is a big opportunity. But before one show, Crane gets absolutely shit-faced, stumbles out on stage, wasted beyond belief, and cannot perform. In the crowd, thousands of people who just paid to see a show totally turn on him. They boo him off the stage. The fun-loving party dudes were no longer fun. The image that made them famous was starting to destroy them from the inside. But there was a much bigger problem brewing, something they had no control over. Just a few weeks after Ugly Kid Joe's debut EP came out in '91, a band from Seattle called Nirvana released an album called Nevermind. And that album, led by the song Smells Like Teen Spirit, changed everything overnight. So the entire landscape of music shifted under their feet. That fun, party rock, big-hair glam metal scene that Ugly Kid Joe had been parodying was actually wiped out almost instantly. Now music was serious and dark, all about angst and introspection and daddy problems and pain. The era of grunge was finally upon us. Out with the spandex and the hairspray and in with the flannel shirts and lots of heroin. And Ugly Kid Joe, with that goofy name and the cartoon logo, their smiling good time vibe were suddenly the most uncool thing on the planet. As Crane Letter put it, they were the last smile band to get through the door before flannel and heroin hit full blown. He said that grunge just decimated everybody. So they were completely stranded. The hair metal bands were gone, but the new grunge bands, the cool alternative bands, they hated Ugly Kid Joe as well. Saw him as a corporate fake joke. And Crane said they felt really alone because their peers in the new scene hated everything about them. No pun intended. In the new unsmiling face of rock music, a band that was all about having fun was seen as an enemy. Their timing was just horrendously bad. They were the bridge between fading hair metal and rising grunge, and the bridges are made to be walked over. They put out their second album, Menace to Sobriety, in '95. Overseas, it got good reviews, but in the US, nobody gave a crap. Culture had moved on. Their record label, Mercury, could see the writing on the wall. They put all their money and promotion behind the new grunge and alternative acts. Crane felt like the label just completely abandoned them. He said they just weren't backing us, so he made the choice to leave the label. By '97, it was all over. No more momentum. The industry didn't want them. According to Crane, they were all just sick of each other anyway. Ugly Kid Joe officially disbanded. Their entire career, from unknown joke band to multi-platinum stars to forgotten has-beens, happened in the span of about 5 years. They were a casualty of a war they didn't even know that they were fighting. Their greatest asset, their humor, their refusal to take themselves seriously, became their fatal flaw in an era that demanded nothing but seriousness. They were a party band, and the party ended. Make sure to have a party on that like button, turn around and give that subscribe button a good smack, join the family, and I want to thank you so much for watching.